How's the Outcast?
The Outcast? Oh.
I wasn't allowed to send you an email today.
What?
Did you get any emails from me?
The only email I seen from you was the one where you search for the hidden element.
Search for the hidden elements.
Yeah.
Yeah, was that on a reply from a previous email?
No, it was just a post that you made to send out to everybody, I guess.
Is that on the G360?
Yeah.
Because every G360 post I sent out from here, I was told unable to deliver. And I sent it out about 10 times.
Well, you just
and then I found an old email from you, and I put it on there. I wiped out the message that was there, and I sent it out to you, but it would have only your name on it.
I didn't get anything else.
So all the other ones I sent didn't get out. So the one you got must be the one on the email.
Yeah.
The one sent directly as a response to you.
No, this wasn't sent as directly because it doesn't say. It doesn't. It's not as like a reply. It's like all your other posts that you make.
So one of them got through, but even the email didn't get through.
Yeah.
Because I kept trying and trying and trying all kinds of different ways, and out of all the emails I sent, that was the only one.
I'm the outcast.
Yeah. Everybody on that list should basically be calling me to say how come I haven't received anything. But if one of them got through, that's...
Well, I'm signed on to you. I have another email that you send stuff to, but I don't really check it that much. I'll check that one. That one might have it. So why they would do that? Yeah, I have to ask you a question. When like the Book of Enoch, for example, like, does it matter if those books are printed before World War I? Books like that?
Of course.
Oh, all right.
Of course.
Because I was looking at
the problem you have as well is that they were not written in English. So anybody who's translating the book can manipulate the information.
So I have to read like different versions, I guess, right?
Yeah. Usually if you have a number of people writing on the same topic, they cover up different parts. And by reading all of them, you get to find the missing pieces.
So that's what I'm going to have to do then.
Yeah.
I came across a book, antique book, it's by John Bunyan. It's called The Pilgrim's Progress. Have you ever read through that?
Yeah.
Did you, anything interesting in there?
Well, it's one of their classics. It's basically all about the progress. That's why Democrats and left-wing people always refer to themselves as progressives. And the conservative gang, who are basically left-leaning, call themselves progressive conservatives. That's an oxymoron.
I noticed that, like, a lot of people talk about these neocons that were Bush, and I guess they almost made themselves like get a lot of attention by being like the bad guy, I guess. And another group, which is another oxymoron, was liberals, because they pretend to be open to ideas and different beliefs, but really the exact opposite.
Word that describes all these people is monolatry.
Monolatry?
Yeah, that means the love of one.
The one O.
Well, the one is basically a pseudo-hermaphrodite.
Yeah, 10.
The future slave of the universe.
Yeah, another classic. I think it's a classic. I was looking at 1001 Nights.
Yeah, Persian.
Yeah.
Persian stories, and the most important there is the story of Esther. Esther is in the harem of the king, and she's a Jewish girl who was brought in as part of the gathering they did of all the priests in Israel, and brought them for retraining in Zoroastrianism. And they spent 49 years in Persia. So she was put in the king's harem, and she gave him something that he could never forget.
She was a gypsy.
Yeah. And he then promised her anything she wanted, and what she chose was to have her uncle made prime minister. By becoming prime minister, he also became the minister of finance, and therefore Hebrew became the controller of the money of their enemies, the Persians, the so-called enemies, Persians. But you have to distinguish between the Jewish and Judean.
Yeah.
These people who went for retraining were all Judean. The Jewish were kind of shipped out, sent to places where they ended up, like in Spain and France and Holland and a whole bunch of other places in Europe.
Who's that group of people that went to Germany?
Well, the priests that came back from their 49 years in Persia, not exactly the same people, but the descendants of, because many of those people had died, and it's their children who came back with Captain Zorobabel. And they were not accepted, but a few survivors in Israel, and finally they decided to move out. And that was about 35, 37 years after they had returned from Persia. They moved to Germany. At the time, they called it Frankland. They called themselves the Salian Franks, which basically is a play on the word Aryan. Meant at the time Persian. Persians were people who had moved to that area from India. Hindu-Persian is the basis of modern Western languages.
Now, what's it called? Wow. I just had a thought in my head and dropped out. Yeah, when the francs, so when they called the currency francs,
yeah,
what was that? That's linked to
RN,
the Aryan?
RANK,
Oh.
rank Xerox.
So it was a
rank,
copy or something?
Well, it's basically telling you they are there to make copies, make different people by the thousands.
Oh, and the new copy culture, right, of the older.
Rank, our anchor.
Yeah, they have, that's funny you mentioned that. I was just reading a little bit about that. They called it the Ark and the Anchor.
Yeah.
And they said that this is, one interpretation, they say the ship, because they said the ship was like, I guess, the body of a person, and the stormy seas was life, and the anchor brought them down.
Mount Ararat.
Mount Ararat
is in, what do you call it, Armenia.
Mm-hmm.
There are two Ararats if you look up there. There's one next to Lake Van, and there's another one called Ararat inside the Armenian border. That's basically the area that was occupied by the Hurrites and the Mitanni. Mit and Annie put together.
And the Hurrites, this is the same, like Hurrite pictographs? These?
Yeah, the Hurrites, hurricane, was the area from which Akhenaten came back from. That's where he had been taken originally by his guardian, who was a priest called A-Y. I, sir.
I. Yeah, you always say that. So, that's another thing, too. You said with Esther, she was basically like some type of spy.
Yeah.
And so
that was the model for marriage. Because in the old days, only royalty were married, because marriage was basically a contract for the transfer of land when a person died. So it was only the royals. And they had to make a model for the woman of the house would in fact not be working for the house, but in fact would be spying for her own family. So she was given in an arranged marriage situation.
And the king wasn't aware of this?
And the king was aware of it because he was doing it too. It was being done in reverse.
Like a agreement of let's just spy on each.
You have your spy in my house, I have my spy in your house. But when it came time to do the Magna Carta in England in 1215 AD, they used the cover of that activity to introduce marriage to the commoners as well. So on the first basis, they were introduced as people who came there out of love, but in fact, over time, they converted it to arranged marriages.
And the whole idea...
You may not even know it's arranged anymore.
The whole idea of love, was that like...
That's a crazy system.
Yeah.
Love lasts 4 years.
Yeah.
You're crazy for 4 years. After that, you wake up and you want to get out of what you're in.
Was that, I was saying, was that, like, thought, was it the Roma that came up with that? Because it's in romantic...
Roma.
Yeah. So they came up with this?
Yeah, it was brought as part of the plan. The love religion was Buddhism as opposed to Brahmism. The Western version, Brahmism, is Judaism, and and Buddhism is Christianity. It's all in the glove, love. That's why Michael Jackson handed out a glove, because it's a basic hint of things to come in the future. Mitanni was suggesting that they were at the time of the mitt. And down the line, there would be the time of the glove. Well, the glove basically means going off the planet, going and establishing themselves in space. 4 directions are the 4 fingers, and the thumb is the guy who waits back home for the results.
Yeah, the glove is the more modern version.
Whereas the mitt had 3 together, the woman of the household, the little finger, and the controller, the Vatican or the Roma, is basically the thumb. Closes in on things.
Solidifying.
A hand could not do the things it does without a thumb.
Yeah, and that word spy, it has eyes in it. and I guess S was shaping, and P could be a 6 or a 9, I guess. ES
at the end just means here. EC is how it's pronounced. So you're left with SPI. And SPI is pronounced piss. So at the end of something, you piss. Because
dead cells.
That's what the body does, gets rid of its dead cells.
I remember
Pissing basically means I'm finished here.
I remember you saying like a conglomerate of like a whole bunch of activities, of events that happen in this world is really like an allegory of the body, human body. Like the
digestive tract starts always with an OE, and that's why esophagus is the place where the digestive tract begins. It ends with piss, and you know that they never consider the first or the last to be important, so you have to back up one from piss, and that's shit. And therefore, the important ones are the Shiite. And they call them Islam. There is no L, and what you're left is Ami. Mi means friend. The original zeros. Siwa in Hindu.
Yeah, I just need to get into like this older. How are you able to what's the word, like track these people and like their descendants, like you're able to, because they throw everybody off by having you name
syllables. You use the language basic common denominator. The philosopher's stone is basically the building block.
Well, yeah, I use syllables too, but I haven't been able to. I mean, I can see a lot of things, but I guess I need to look at it longer, because like the syllables, I can break down a lot of words. I'll see something. I mean, the syllable will mean something else than what the word outwardly implies, I guess.
Yeah. And that's what you have to work on, is the structure of words beginning with syllables. Each word you come across, and you have to say, what does this word really mean? And you extract the syllable or syllables from it, and you say, okay, where would this appear? In what other words would this appear? And then you say, okay, if it was spelled backwards, or if the letters in the syllable were scrambled, what words would appear? And then if you flip it over,
Mm-hmm.
what does a W become? It becomes an M.
Yeah, with that. Mm-hmm.
You got to go through all of these procedures, and eventually you're doing it in your head.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's almost like like Pavlov training yourself.
Yeah.
Like I've seen that with the people who do the garbage around here. 'Cause I know it's like a mafia whatever system, but they call it waste management, and it's a W and an M close together.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like that. What does that mean?
WW or MM, and they're looking for the last or the third W. The big W is the W in the sky at certain times of the year in Cassiopeia. Find it by the big W, and during the year it shifts and becomes an M. So they have a calendar based upon certain things can be done when it's an M, and certain things can be done when it's a W. And at one certain stage, there will be a supernova attached to all of that, and that will be the hint that something cataclysmic is about to happen on Earth.
Yeah, I just watched the movie that Dana told me to watch. It's called The Knowing. Mm-hmm. And then how they all die. There's just these only two children. They get chosen by some alien race. They're chosen to, I guess, repopulate somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And then they show them running on the field towards a tree. And I guess that's linked to the spine or something. And then and then the whole planet, everybody is like a solar flare that just kills everybody on the planet.
Yeah.
So I guess that's all there.
In the mythology, it talks about there are only two survivors. Now, are those two survivors within the same person? Talking about a hermaphrodite. Of course, they're, in the Egyptian mythology, they talk about somebody called Tefnut. Mm-hmm. Teflon and tough nut. So somebody is describing a woman who has a single testicle. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Click there.
Yeah, my phone. So yeah, with the syllables, like I'm looking at a word right now, antediluvian masonry, and this is all about
before the
flood.
The flood.
Yeah, so when you look at the word, this is anti. So that's the Nazi.
Yeah, and the saint.
Yeah.
Always two sides.
And then you have ant and ten.
It ant. It tan.
Oh wow. There's a lot of that word anti or saint that's a lot of coding.
Pain means mirror image.
Interesting. I don't know.
It ain't.
It ain't.
AINT.
Yeah, I was reading one of your older posts. It's a really good one. Talk about the GENIE.
Yeah.
The GENIE. Where was it?
Rub the bottle, your slave comes out.
Yeah, and there's a song by a pop singer called Christina Aguilera. She's like, I'm a genie in the bottle, rub me the right way, and
do for you what nobody's ever done.
So she was saying, I just was made in the lab.
Yeah. Yeah. Most people haven't got a clue.
Oh man, it's weird. You're all right there. They do kind of make it funny, like.
Yeah. Well, they got to have some fun. They're kind of stuck where they are, and.
Oh man. So did you make any progress over there? Were you all right?
Well, right now I'm basically helping out the cell a bit in the part that we had to track, the underground.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're kind of pissed off right now because of this problem we're having with the police that manufactured phony accident report on Tom here so that they could boost up the insurance price. They're basically saying, this is the kind of activity that will ruin it for this area, because one of the reasons the project I was building was shut down in Hull, Gatineau, the first time near Ottawa, across the river from Ottawa, was that they had concluded that all of the politicians and police in the area were corrupt. Normally, they would have come in, the Japanese and the Latvians, and they would have taken over from the pension funds after I was declared the president for life of our project, because that was our contract. So instead, they decided not to fund it, to just let it shut down and wait for another opportunity. So when the farm came up here, that basically was one of the conditions that the politicians and the police in this area not be as corrupt as the ones in Quebec. They couldn't say not corrupt, because they're all corrupt to some extent, but they said not as corrupt. And that appeared to be the case, surface-wise, until this event of fabricating a false accident report so that the insurance companies could benefit. And now they're saying, the financing will be in jeopardy if the politicians don't straighten this out. So I haven't received a response yet from the politician that I wrote to, and that was over a week ago. So I'm going to go to his office next week, see if there's any action going on in this manner. Because if there isn't, then the possibility of the project being built here and 5,000 to 10,000 jobs created will disappear from underneath us. It's not the end of the world, because it basically means, that we can continue with the farm if we raise the money for the excavation someplace else. But this was the best shortcut. You could put the two things together, the excavation of the farm and the building of the project for the long-term solution. But if the cops are corrupt here, probably is no long-term solution. They have a third place in mind, which is strike 3, they call it. It's called Timmins, Ontario. It's about 100 miles, I guess, north of here. And it's linked to the word mit and to the word min, as in Brahmin. And it's known for nickel mining, which attaches it to the pickle and Ike Eisenhower and David Icke and all of those other icky things that one finds. But I'm not interested in going up to Timmins and working on the project. So if it dies here, as far as I'm concerned, it's dead, and I will not be part of any project outside of here. and if I'm not part of it, they're not doing it. So, $160 million investment and 5,000 to 10,000 jobs goes down the drain because some asshole policeman wants to make a few bucks off of kickbacks.
The gratification, right?
Hey?
Instant gratification, right?
Yeah. Well, that's why their name is at the front of Coprolite. Cops and pros are light in the head. They just basically do what they're told. Professionals, whether they're athletes or actors.
Well, you got to see
lawyers.
how they think. So, like, I went to school with people who you would know would become cops. So
yeah,
the same type of thinking is cops, military, sports player,
crooks with a tie.
Yeah. But their whole psychology is different. Like they believe in like
violence,
teamwork. We're all part of the same team. You know, the whole outlook on life is really it's predictable thinking.
Yeah.
But yeah. I've been having dreams about this whole thing. But like I had one dream. It was weird, man. Like one dream. I think I seen you at my job, and that lady, the lady that came up there. You said with the with her son.
Oh yeah, she just put us off again. She had planned on coming in November, and then she put it off until January. And now that I turned down, like the guy from California had called, and he wanted to come up this winter, and I said there's no room. Well, now there is room, but I don't know how to get a hold of him anyway.
Yeah, man, this dream, like, it was like she was trying to control you or something.
Yeah.
I'm having weird dreams like that, but
if she was trying to control me, that may be the reason why she's not coming up, because she's not certain of her ability to do that. And I can guarantee you, it ain't going to happen.
Yeah. I'm sure yours is. I'm sure there have been people up there. You don't mention that try to control and manipulate or whatever. I've
been through all of that enough times in my life to know when it's happening and not to fall for it. Yeah. And it doesn't matter whether they offer sex or money or whatever. I don't do what other people want me to do. I do what is right as far as I know it to be.
Yeah. Like, I think if somebody wanted to use me for sex, I think I'd let them use me for sex, but I'm not going to, just because I had sex, I don't think I'm going to, do what they want me to do.
Yeah, well, even sex, you have to have a reason for it, or you're crazy. You're in love.
Yeah. Well, I've never, you know what? I'm a person who's never been in love before in my life, so I don't know what it is still. You know.
Well, you don't really need to be crazy.
Yeah.
And, to me, I have, and I now know exactly how it works. It's different when you're approaching it for the first time or second time, and you're always dreaming of the mythology of marriage, for a lifetime, all this shit. Mm-hmm. You don't realize that it should basically be a 4-year contract, because you come out of that state of dizziness you're in 4 years.
You learn everything about each other, so there's nothing. Yeah. But the thing is, it's what keeps them together, a lot of people. It's just because they look, okay, I have a child, now I'm responsible to a family.
24 years kept me together,
Yeah.
Even though the marriage had basically finished after 4 years, I stayed on for 24 years because the kids had to grow up and all of that stuff.
But say you're with somebody for a few years, 3-4 years, and you have a child with them. This is the way society looks at it. Is, oh, you have a child, so you can't just leave it to the lady to take care of.
Sometimes it would be the best thing you could do for the family. It depends on the person. But a lot of people are assholes in the place they don't feel comfortable being in. And putting a family through that would be terrible. Worse than not having somebody there. I don't consider that I was an asshole in my family, and it appears as if they got more pissed off at me when I left than when I was there. So that tells me that I was probably serving a function for them, if not for myself.
Because I really don't see the problem. Okay, say the woman saying, "Oh, you got to take care of the child." I can understand, what's the role really of the man in that? Because when you look at the woman, everything about them, when you look at them physically, it's designed for that function of taking care of a child.
Yeah.
What's the
problem is the women are no longer
women.
The women they were.
So that they're thinking like men.
Yeah. And accumulation is the key. And that was the last thing that would have crossed the clan mother's mind at the beginning. She wasn't interested in accumulating anything. She was interested in making the life better for the clan.
She was like Abel. She was a long time. Yeah. Okay. So, and man was Cain. Yeah. Oh, man. Good, man.
But today, it's almost impossible. I can't find it. Yeah. A woman who gives her word that she's going to do something and then proceeds to do it, even though doing it is uncomfortable for her. They always seem to have an excuse for not doing what they said they were going to do. And it may be just the women I know, but I've met enough women that I suspect there would be one who would be doing it for the bigger purpose of saving the world or whatever. But I haven't been able to run across any. I thought that was going to be the case with this woman that's moving up here, but again, three times when the time approaches for her to do what she said she was going to do, she doesn't.
Yeah, she's probably maybe scared, or maybe you said that it's hard for women to.
Yeah, maybe what it is.
Well, you got to see a society where the society like puts them in the position they put them in.
Yeah. We can't make judgments because we haven't been put through the terrible things that women have been put through over the years, because they've been the target. And oftentimes men have helped the system attack women. If you look at all of Asia and forcing women to wear burqas and treat them as chattels, you stay in the house and you don't drive and you don't go outside and all that crap. So all of that has had an impact on women over the millennia.
You know what that's like to me? This is an analogy. That's like having a ship, right? And humanity is the ship. And on the compass on the ship is a woman. And then just taking the compass and smashing it on the ground.
Yeah.
That's like so like stupid. Like I guess they really don't think. The men, I guess, they really didn't think that much ahead. They didn't see that they were screwing themselves over by doing that to their own women.
Yeah, they thought that would make them more powerful. And what it was short-term thinking.
Right.
Instant gratification.
And then they say they're so wise. Oh, the wise sages and the wise this. No, they're not. Yeah. They're hypocrites. Yeah. That's what I'm so tired of seeing. Whenever you anything, all the movies and everything, wise is equated to like these old wise men on top of the mountain or something, or Chinese sages and stuff.
They're just goat herders.
Yeah. And the reason why they use that sheep, cattle, or sheep herder, shepherd, because those were the only, at least from what I see, those were the people that survived the flood on like mountains and stuff. Yeah. So I guess they built off of that, use that analogy.
The problem is with the coming plan. CERN creating a spark.
Yeah.
There is no place to hide.
Yeah.
You can't go up, you can't go down, and you can't survive on the surface. So if you don't stop it from happening before it happens,
then there's no chance at all.
Then there's nothing you can do once it's happening.
And the only people that know what is going to happen, they're quiet about this, right? At least people like Maurice Strong. He's aware, right?
Of course, he would be aware of a lot of it. Whether he's aware of all of it, I suspect not, because smart people aren't stupid enough to kill themselves knowingly. They think they've been told that they're going to survive. They'll be brought into the safety of the moho discontinuity. They just haven't had a chat with the computer. The computer would say, "Why? What do I need you for?"
And those people
served your purpose.
And those people, they're servants. I think they're bred
a lot of times
a certain way to think a certain way. That way they'll never really see it. They're just with that medulla. They're controlled. Really.
We have an advantage when we're poor, is we get to meet all kinds of people and get all kinds of opinion. But the really wealthy only hang around with their own crowd, and they all think alike, and they think the whole world thinks that way. So they don't get the advantages, at least that we have, of hearing different opinions.
All right. So they've actually, wow, they're actually really like controlled in that. That's the control, man.
They have their own places of paradise, their places of holidays, but they're all so expensive that they're not going to meet the average person there. And it's not the servants in the place who are going to tell them anything.
And so what do you think about poor people? Like, because they never actually tried to jump out of their shoes and like, I don't know, pretend to be poor, or just, are they scared of it? They're probably scared of, like, just being around.
Of it.
Yeah. Well, I've seen, reading this encyclopedia, I've seen this in November 2nd, All Souls Day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, what's that, CNA Day?
All Souls is the same thing as All Saints Day. Oh. It's Halloween. It's the holiday the church describes as Halloween. So they have a fixed date, probably based on a Sunday or something. And often theirs is based on the lunar calendar, as ours is a fixed date based on the solar calendar.
Yeah, they always use those two opposites. That's what Islam, too, is a lunar religion. And this is the sun, Christianity. And I guess the stars was Judaism.
You can make a religion based upon the moon if you know you're going to destroy it. Their whole world will be turned upside down when the moon disappears and gets replaced by a second sun.
Wow, that's all allegory. Damn. Oh, man.
Anyways, Jared, it's time for me to go prepare myself for bed.
Really?
I was outside a lot this afternoon, and I had to bring some dates to the people out who are going to spend the night out. So I got to go and check up, make sure everybody's okay before I get to bed.
All right, Glenn.
So I'll talk to you again.
And
next time you call.
Okay, Glenn.
Okay.
All right.
Bye for now.